Hi, everybody, and welcome to Pause, Reflect, and Heal with Dr. Randy. I have one of my lifelong heroes with me today. This is truly the case. Dr. Laurie McCauley. She is an amazing person, really kind of a foundation for rehabilitation and physical therapy in pets, and just a great friend. And so let me read a little to you about Dr. McCauley. She's had a lifelong passion to help as many pets as possible live an optimum quality of life. After graduating from Colorado State School of Veterinary Medicine, she spent 6 years in general practice and quickly became a pioneer in the field of veterinary rehabilitation. She went on to open the first veterinary rehabilitation clinic in 1998 and designed the first underwater treadmill for dogs, which we all use in our lovely practices. Dr. McCauley was on the faculty at the Canine Rehabilitation Institute, where I got certified in rehab, for 14 years and has taught thousands of veterinarians and other rehabilitation professionals the art of canine rehabilitation and sports medicine. She is certified in acupuncture, chiropractic therapy, and board certified by the American College of Veterinary Sports Medicine and Rehabilitation. This is, just so you know, guys, an incredible honor. Dr. Laurie is an international lecturer, contributing author in many textbooks and journals. She was awarded the IMSS AARV Award of Excellence in the field of rehabilitation and the AHVMA Holistic Practitioner of the Year Award. She has stepped in as the head of Integrative Medicine Department at Louisiana State School of Veterinary Medicine. Dr. McCauley owns Red Tail Rehab, a mobile canine rehabilitation practice, and Optimum Pet Vitality, a teaching platform for veterinary professionals and pet parents, helping pets achieve optimum health. Dr. Laurie, hi, kiddo.
Hey, how's it going? It's
going. It's so good to see you too. Thank you for being here today, and our listeners are really excited about having this show coming to them. So, as you know, we are very excited. In Tucson, we just opened up the Canine Co-Lab, which is our rehab and recreation center, adding another treadmill, so we now have 2 underwater treadmills with all of the lovely toys like PEMF and ultrasound and laser and all of our floor exercises. So we're very excited. This is perfect timing. And actually, we have our open house coming up this week, so we're really excited about all of that.
awesome. That sounds great. You're doing amazing.
We're trying. So, both of us are focused on helping pet parents. Tell our listeners your motto, because I just love it. It's so exciting.
Empowering people, optimizing pets. So I always tell people, and I always say this lovingly, I love all of my clients, that I want to teach them as much as I can so they can help their dogs, so I can see them less, hence the lovingly, so I can help somebody else's dog.
Absolutely. And I think all of us are in that boat, but I think you say it so well, so it's really nice. Talk to our listeners a little bit about how rehab came about for you. Where did that come from general practice?
So I started in vet medicine, and it was like everybody coming out of school, right? You're like, oh my God, this is so cool. I get to help dogs and cats and blah, 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 blah. And it's like, this is so cool. And I'm going to read all my journals and all the textbooks. And then it was like, okay, well, I have one cool case a week. And then it was like one cool case a month. And then it was like, all right, I love my patients and my pets, and I don't need to see everybody with diarrhea, vomiting, blah, 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 blah. And I've done some really cool stuff. Like I've done heart surgery and taken pumpkin-sized tumors out of dogs and all kinds of really cool stuff. And then I fell down the stairs at 3 o'clock in the morning, putting my dogs out one night, hurt my back. My chiropractor couldn't fix me, sent me to an ortho guy who sent me to a PT, and my eyes lit up and I went, oh my God, this is so cool. If I took these things that I'm learning from them and I used it with this patient to do this and that patient to do that, and I thought, okay, I'll just get certified. And there was nothing. So I got acupuncture certified. I did 2 months at Alameda East, which was where Emergency Vets, the TV show way, way, way back was. We did some clinical research there. And then I started literally the first rehab clinic, designed the first underwater treadmill. And then I brought that to the first ever PT symposium in Corvallis, Oregon. Oh my God, in like 2000 and presented that, and then started teaching like within a couple months the rehab certification course. So we took it from very, very low to now it's the fastest growing field in veterinary medicine because it's so cool, because we can do so much. Drugs are involved when you need them, and there's so much we can do besides drugs. It is truly the most heartwarming thing. And I've had interns from 17 different countries. Just that ripple effect of knowing that I've done something small that's helping dogs around the world, it just fills my cup, and it's the most heartwarming thing. I love, 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 love what I do.
Well, it's obvious. And, yours truly in the same boat. I tell people I was 10 years into practice, very well educated on the East Coast, and came to only find out that I seemed like I just was putting out fires all the time. And I'd use one medicine and create two more problems. And then I met Dr. Andrew Weil, and he really motivated me to look at integrative medicine. And I had no idea what that was. And people weren't talking about it in those days. And so I also went to get certified in acupuncture, actually with Mona in Albuquerque. And only to find out I had to learn Chinese medicine, which I had no idea I was going to have to do that. But did, and went on to get Chinese herbs certified, and then basically rehab came around for me, and I really heard some amazing things about the potential for that, and went to CRI in Wellington, and the rest is history. And you're right, having that modality for our sports dogs, for our older dogs, for some of our cats that are having osteoarthritis is just such a godsend. And as you know, we see the results of our love and our passion, and it makes us keep on moving on. And the thing that I always tell people is that, it is the practice of veterinary medicine. We never quite get it 100%, but both of us are still in the learning mode. I know you're going off to learn. I do the same thing. And I think that makes it so exciting to keep on going with our practices.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you're going to laugh at me. My mama always used to say, every morning you wake up and you make choices. You can become smarter or stupider. You can become weaker or stronger. And every decision you make during the day is going to take you on one of those paths. It's your choice.
Yeah, that's a beautiful saying. And we agree with your mama. There's no question about that. So talk a little bit about what your typical kind of day, week looks like as far as what you're doing. I mean, I know it always changes and you're traveling, but in your rehab practice, let's say, what does that look like?
So I started the first rehab clinic, and we moved it back in 2002 or 3 or something like that into like a 4,000 square foot facility with 2 underwater treadmills. We had a staff of, I think, 21 at one point. It was amazing. And then now I've toned back, right? I'm getting older, and I see patients 2 days a week. It's more of a mobile clinic where I go to people's homes and I work on their dogs. And then if that's 2 days a week, 7 days a week, I'm working with Optimum Pet Vitality, because I have the ability to teach more people, right? Because I can have courses where hundreds of people are going through the courses, and then I'm answering questions and helping, pet parents learn more things and video things and educate as much as I can.
So we're going to have links on our website and with this video, of course. But I want to mention that you can find Laurie in a couple places. Let me mention this really quickly. Facebook would be facebook.com/Optimum Pet Vitality. For her website would be www.optimumpetvitality.com, and also on Instagram, again, optimum.pet.vitality. So you have to check this out, folks, because it's an amazing site, and it's not just for veterinarians, it's for all the lay people, owners, pet owners, sports people, you name it, anybody that would benefit from rehab. Laurie has this going on, and it's really exciting. Talk a little bit about how that evolved. I mean, how did Optimum Pet Vitality come about?
So I kept having dreams that I was supposed to teach, and I had stepped back from teaching the certification course in 2017. And I'm like, I got to teach. And then you may think I'm absolutely crazy, and that's okay. I've no problem with people think I'm crazy. I think I'm crazy too. I dreamed of a logo, and I worked with a young vet that I had helped open up her rehab clinic, and we started the process of creating Optimum Pet Vitality. And then I'm like, what can I teach that has the most effect in the biggest thing? And I started with a laser course for veterinarians, right? And I put my whole heart and soul into it. It's a 20-hour course, everything I could teach, because I would get much better results than other people, because you go through the rehab certification course and you get, an hour, 2 hours on laser, and there's so much more to it. And then from there, we built the geriatric exercise course, which I will say any general practitioner, those 24 exercises are all they need to just teach exercises to their clients. And then we came out with fascia, and then we created a pet parent version, so a simplified version of all of those things. And we've just had a huge response. And again, it's a way for me to help others learn. But I want to make sure people understand, I'm not in it for the money, right? If you go to my website, there's a place on top that says Learn and Go. We've got about 100 free videos, educational stuff.
They're wonderful, by the way. They are really wonderful.
I want to teach as much as I can. I get on podcasts. I was talking to Randy before we went on. I've got my dog behind me. If it's okay with you guys, we can show an exercise that everyone who's watching this can learn so they can start helping their dog.
No, we want to do that for sure.
Yeah, I truly believe that we can decrease injuries. I mean, I see it all day long.
And because a lot of our people listening are pet parents, talk about the pet parent course on Optimum Pet Vitality. What would somebody be seeing on your course or your site?
So we have our Core and More, foundational exercises for your dog, 24 exercises, again, for the average pet parent, all you need to start to get your dog from, whether it's a 16-week-old puppy to a 16-year-old dog. And I am such an anal retentive teacher. It's everything from the very weak, and then we have challenge levels. So, and it teaches not just how to do the exercise, but when to do it, when not to do it, the biomechanics of the dog, the biomechanics of the person, the red flags. If you see your dog do X, you need to stop and maybe even take him to the vet. When to discontinue because they've done enough, and now you can move them to the next exercise. So we have that course. We have an at-home laser course because at least 70% of my clients have their own laser at home. And when I worked with them, none of them knew how to use it. And I always laugh because we say 70% of my clients have a laser, and of the ones that have it, 100% use them not on their dog, not only on their dog, but also on themselves. So
Sure.
you want to make sure if you're going to use it to have the right knowledge. So we have that course, and then we came out with the fascia course, which is super cool.
Amazing. It's amazing.
It's I love that course. Jan Huntingford taught most of it. I threw some stuff in at the end, but pet parents can learn to feel their dog's body and learn to do stretches, and then we have to throw in all kinds of techniques. And literally within like 20 minutes, your dog will be like getting up and shaking and be like, "Oh my God, I feel so much better." You
Yes.
want to melt as you work on them.
Well, I have a little backstory, but I was in my first year of veterinary school at University of Pennsylvania, and there was an advertisement in the anatomy lab for a student to come up to Great Barrington, Massachusetts, which is a beautiful area. This veterinarian had a stroke, and his right side was paralyzed, and he wanted somebody to be his hands and feet while he, instructed and did the work that he did. Mornings were large animal, afternoons were small animal. His wife, one of the first women veterinarians, was doing all the small animal work. And I got to meet a woman by the name of Bonnie Pruden. And come to find out, Bonnie Pruden was a kind of a disciple of Hans Kraus, and really kind of worked on trigger point therapy. And when it was such a go back for me, because when I did the fascia course, we were listening about trigger points. This was Bonnie's absolute love. And I actually since then have gone back and read Hans Krause's book and looked back at Bonnie's stuff, and it's so helpful in pets to know these things, because anybody could feel these just like you instruct. It's not rocket science. It's just a matter of knowing what to look for.
Yeah, once you know what normal is, you know what abnormal is.
Yeah.
So just putting your hands on your dog, and the dog is like, oh, please, just touch me more, right? They just love it, and that increases your bond.
Right.
Yes, it's a win-win-win all around.
Yep. So do me a favor. Let's Sid, right, is
Yeah.
behind you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's could you show us a little something that on
Sure.
Sid for our viewers and our listeners? This is Laurie McCauley and her dog Sid, and she's going to show you a little exercise. So what are we going to do today?
Let's see. We can, you know what? We're going to pretend that Sid is old. Now, he's 7. He's in the prime of his life. He's amazing. He's one of very few dogs in the world that can walk on a round ball. And he can walk forward, backwards, sideways, spin and twirl on top of it with no assistance at all. He's amazing. But for a second, we're going to pretend that he is 14.
Okay.
Because a lot of people have dogs that aren't strong.
Right.
And they're more likely to get injured, have arthritis, get sore. So one of the first exercises I teach all of my geriatric patients is a 3-legged stand. So if we have him come up, now this is a challenge, right? Because we would start an older dog on a flat surface.
Sure.
And he's on the top of the couch, which is a soft surface. So it's going to be harder. Stand up, silly. Thank you.
He says, but Mom.
I know. He's like, I was sleeping.
I know.
So we don't just like pick a limb up, right? Because then I'm actually holding his weight. What we want to do is take your fingers, so just 2 fingers, and come slide down to his wrist and pick it forward. Can I have it? Thank you, love. Now I'm going to let go back here. I was just holding him so he would stand up. And I can hold it for 5-10 seconds. Stand up. Right? And then I would say, okay, if his body started to shake, stand up. Thank you, love. Right? That would tell me he's starting to get weak. And now I'm not picking it all the way up, because then by shortening that and having it all the way up, I would be doing his balance. I'm making sure I'm not touching him here so that I'm not doing his balance. It just has to be like an inch off.
Sure.
And then put that one down and then do the other front foot, and then the back. Again, I'm not grabbing. 2 fingers, come to his hock or tarsus. Can I come? And when I ask him, think about this, really important. I can't shift his weight onto it and then ask to pick it up, right? That would be unfair to him, unrealistic
Sure.
expectations. So I pull him into me, which pulls weight off of it. I can pick this up, and then I can take this away, and I'm very gently holding it. I can, if he tries to lean into me, I can either shift his weight, stand up, Lem, there you go, to his other side, or I can just jiggle his leg, right? Because that's going to make him not be able to keep his muscle strong.
Sure.
And then we would hold that for like 10 seconds. And again, in a very strong dog, you can make challenges like putting him on the couch or the bed, on a ball. I would do this on a supported ball, not a
Right.
on ball. And then go around and start with like 2 to 3 reps of each leg. So not in a row. You would alternate 1 leg, 2 leg, 3 leg, 4 leg. That's 1 rep. And then repeat that. And then as they get stronger, you can add challenges, right? Moving the limb forward, right? That's going to change center of gravity and make it harder. And there's all different things we can do. And that's just,
fabulous.
just one exercise that is safe, like I said, for a 16-week-old puppy all the way up to a 16-year-old dog.
Sure. So, Laurie, let me ask you a question while you're there before you leave Sid. So we have a lot of our listeners, and I get a lot of questions on our senior pets, and they're starting to get weakness in their hind end. We talk a lot about, non-inflammatory diets and all that stuff. What would you say are some of your best exercises for that weakness, or helping our senior pets when they start to get that? I know there's lots of circumstances for why that happens, but just out of top of your head.
So again, all of your listeners, if they're interested, we have the ebook, which has the top 5 exercises for geriatric dogs, right? And the number 1 and number 2 exercise for all dogs to help their back end, which also helps their front end, would be backwards walking and sideways walking. And as much as they go to the left, they have to go to the right. But that will strengthen all the stabilizers of the hips, the stabilizers of the shoulders, the muscles of propulsion or being able to get up, the triceps, which are the major standing muscle of the front limbs. And then again, sideways will help all of this. Backwards helps the back of all the muscles. Most important.
I love it. That's great. Thanks, Sid. Great job, buddy.
Like I'm going to lay down again.
Yeah. So you did mention your ebook. Let's talk about that because I want to make sure that people understand what that is and how they can access that.
Yeah. So if people want to text the word exercise to 866-949-0068. I'm going to say that again. 866-949-0068. It'll ask for your email address, and we will email you the top 5 exercises for geriatric dogs. And realize that's maybe my top 5 exercises for geriatric dogs, but it's all, 5 amazing exercises that you can do with any dog.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And our listeners, I'm thanking you ahead of time for all of them who have access to that. That's wonderful. So I know in your world and in my world, we're seeing a real evolution of sports dogs, all kinds of sports dogs. It's hard to believe how many things are out there between fly ball and agility and rally agility and dock diving. And are you seeing a lot of related injuries to each one of those types of sports?
Absolutely. Fly ball dogs have a lot of carpal issues and arthritis. My agility dogs, we see a lot of biceps issues. The biggest stretch thing is unless the handlers are stretching them and lasering them and doing manual work, they get issues with their gracilis muscle. I've seen some of those tear. Gluteal muscles can get super tight. The back, they can have lots of issues. And again, if you want to have a competitive dog, if you have a trigger point or a tight muscle, right? Let's think logically on this. If the muscle fibers can't stretch all the way and contract all the way, you don't have the power to have optimum ability. So by getting rid of all of those muscle issues, then everything, and if you can't contract all the way and stretch all the way, you atrophy, or you don't strengthen as much as you can. If you clear those muscle issues, then you can contract and stretch and contract and stretch. You can build tone, you can build endurance, and you're going to be faster and more accurate and more stable, so you have less injuries.
Yes, and that's perfect. And it amazes me. I've seen a number of people who come to the practice who are basically just showing their dogs. And yet they don't consider the things that you just mentioned, the muscle work, laser, stretching. I have one of my best friends and my technician who had been with me for 20 some years does a lot of dock diving and frisbee work and whatnot. And she says, I go to shows all the time and I'm looking at these people who don't do anything with their dogs to get them ready for what they're about to do. And as well as I do, that's a recipe for disaster. It's just like any elite athlete would never go out there and not be ready for that competition.
Absolutely. When you look at the research, it shows that the dogs that get the least injuries are the ones in the elite classes, and that's the people that are doing the stretching, the laser, the massage, the manual work, all of that stuff, the right nutrition, all of that stuff, that they don't have an obese dog or even an overweight dog, and they don't have one that's so lean that they don't have enough muscle to support their tendons and ligaments and joints and get injured.
Yeah. You mentioned obese, and I've had 2 or 3 cases in the last week that have come to me for rehabilitation for cranial cruciate injuries. And, they went to the veterinary surgeon, and God bless them, I know they are interested in surgery, but But nothing was mentioned about diet. Nothing was mentioned about the obesity. Maybe they, mentioned it. Oh, your dog needs to lose some weight. And then they perform a TPLO, corrective surgery, and these dogs are having more and more trouble even after the surgery. And when they come to see me, sometimes they get a little bit offended because I have to get into this conversation about diet and the carbs that are causing the inflammation and the things that they're doing. But as well as I do, their recovery is so much better. And we've had dogs alone just taking off 5-10 pounds. God forbid they needed that much. That probably I could have done nothing and just done that, and they've done great. So
we know that white fat, the fat between the skin and the body wall, and other places inside the body, it's an endocrine organ. Right? It's an organ that secretes inflammatory mediators. So it in itself, just by being there, increases inflammation in the whole body, which of course increases the risk of cancer, increases arthritis, increases metabolic disease like diabetes and thyroid issues and other things. So there's so much to it that just like you said, taking that 5 or 10 pounds, and if it's a little dog, it might be 1 or 2 pounds. And if it's a bigger dog, it might be 20 or 30 pounds. But one of the things I study and teach on is longevity, right? And what's the number one thing? I don't know if you listen to Peter Attia. He is like,
oh yeah,
love
all the time,
right? And he says, what's the most important thing? The most important thing you can do for longevity, exercise, right? And
absolutely,
and multiple kinds of exercise. They have the studies that show you need to work on balance and proprioception, right? Because humans' fall risk is so big. You have to do endurance exercise. Your endurance exercise is going to get rid of the fat. You can walk 5 miles throughout the day, but if it's at meandering pace, you're burning glycogen and you're not going to burn the fat. You just won't. And if you starve yourself, if you just cut calories, you lose as much muscle as you do fat. So, but if you exercise and cut calories, and you exercise both in humans and dogs, you have to be able to change your breathing pattern, the CO2 levels, for at least 25 minutes before you start burning significant fat. So, again, if I say I walked 5 miles, but I did it 1 step every minute, it's not going to help me. But if I go for a run or something that I'm taxing myself, playing ball with the dog, and they're running, and they're doing it for a long enough time, that's what's going to burn the fat.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I tell my clients, and I actually give them the contact information for the Dog Aging Project, which is an amazing study. They looked at 50,000 dogs and retrospectively looked at basically once a day feeding or carb restriction. And these dogs lived an average of 2.5 years longer than the rest of our dogs. And I said, with just that information, we can make a big change. And then obviously the exercise. One of the things we're excited about here at the Canine Co-Lab and Paws is that we are starting really to get more and more people in the recreational area using the treadmill. And allowing Diana, my rehab tech, to teach them some exercises. And then obviously we're going to mention your ebook again, but Optimum Pet Vitality is a great source for all of this. But we're really hoping to get more and more people, because Tucson, obviously, as you know, in the summer is a little hot to be walking the dog. And we don't want them to lose that exercise ability. And it seems like if we can get that recreational program started, we're really going to be a lot better off, other than also our PT stuff that we do.
Well, yeah, and you think about it, you could do it before or later, right? So people can put the time and energy in when their dog is younger and get them stronger, which is going to have a much better effect than waiting until they're old and they're on arthritis medication. And if they put the time in, then they're not going to have to pay for or give the arthritis medication, or give it, when they're 13 and not when they're 6, right? So if you start it early, again, there's tons of studies that show that is significant. So yeah, getting the young guys in, and the underwater treadmill, right? I made the first one. I watched the dogs. They would come in arthritic and lame, and they have no energy, and we get them going, and you take the weight off their legs, and they're like, oh my God. And then they strengthen not just their muscles, but the tendons and ligaments around their legs. So I have to throw a little bit of science in. When you exercise, it takes 3 to 4 weeks for the muscles to have physiologic change. But it takes 3 to 4 months of the same exercise to have the tendons and ligaments have physiologic change. But what that means is if your dog's just laying around, they're more likely to tear a cruciate or hurt their shoulder because the tendons and ligaments that are holding the joints together, it's going to create more instability and is also going to increase the chance of arthritis where you're grinding. Whereas if you get them strong and keep them strong, they're going to have a much longer, healthier, happier, pain-free life. And I know for me, right, he's my four-legged child. People ask me, how are your kids doing? My first question is, four-legged, right? I have my two-legged kids, and then I have a whole slew of four-legged kids.
Right. And I love what you said about the time frame, because I explain to people when they come to see me, and I know you do this also, we don't have a silver bullet. I mean, I'm not going to give them a steroid shot and have them feel like, they're jumping out of their skin because of that injection in day one. But if they could hang in there and give me, like you said, even most of the time, 3 and 4 months to overcome muscle and nerve memory, to really start strengthening all of the tendons and ligaments with the muscles. And then, obviously using the right diet and using the right supplements. I think these things are really becoming a huge advantage for us in making these animals well.
Absolutely.
And I think we're both, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, to be fair, if your dog's 14, don't hear that and go, oh, I should have done it 6 years ago. Understand that even, again, humans in their 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, starting an exercise program significantly increases their quality of life and can increase their longevity.
Right. And, I tell them that, there was a wonderful study done in men in nursing homes in wheelchairs that were given very light weights to start lifting their arms. And they actually showed that at 90, they could put on muscle mass. They could actually, improve that and obviously their strength and flexibility. So like you said, it's never too late. I get the same thing. My dog's, 13 and, I just want to make him comfortable. And I go, this is I'm looking at this dog, Shen, and looking at this dog's eyes, and they're bright, and this dog wants to be here. And I go, this dog could be here till 17 or 18. So we've got a lot of years ahead of us here. Let's focus on now, obviously, but let's look to the future and not just, age is not a disease, I always tell people, even though I think some people are now saying that's the case. But I try to, reiterate that's the case.
Absolutely. I agree 100%.
A little bit more about Optimum Pet Vitality, because I know our listeners want to ask you. We'll ask questions and whatnot, but I want to tell everybody again to look at Laurie's stuff. Facebook is / Optimum Pet Vitality, all together. Instagram is optimum.pet.vitality / And then the website is www.optimumpetvitality.com. Will you also, again, mention the ebook, the exercise book for our listeners? Thanks.
It's if you text the word exercise, all lowercase, to 866-949-0068, we'll ask you for your email address so that we can send you via email the top 5 exercises for your geriatric dog, and realize, yes, those are my top 5 for geriatric dogs, and it teaches you exercises that you can do with any dog.
Right. And I want to go back to something you said earlier, because it really hit home for me, and people sometimes don't understand this, but rehabilitation, physical therapy, the things that Laurie and I do, it isn't a huge money-making effort. In fact, my wife, who, God bless her, works with me, and she's more of a Western vet, and she looks at the finances much more than I do. I'm the dreamer, she's kind of the realist. Would say to me when we first started, God, the rehab is costing us a fortune, and it's so time consuming, and this and that. And I go, listen, the idea of us being able to help these pets, and even if it's labor intensive, even if it's not a money making situation, which it really is not, it's a labor of love. And we are seeing, there's other things that these pets will need, obviously. And, when clients, know that we can do this, to help them, they look to other things that obviously there are other veterinary services but I had to fight that battle for a long time, and I'm sure you did too.
Oh, absolutely. And kids ask all the time, right? I want to be a vet. And I tell them, if you want to make money, go into human medicine, right? It just is. It just
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
If it's what's in your heart and it makes you just sing, then it's the best thing in the world, right? I feel bad. The kids coming out of vet school now have between $250,000 and $400,000 worth of debt, right? So it's a scary world out there. Yet,
Yes.
I would not change what I do at all.
Right. And I'm with you 100%. I mean, you and I both know that if we had gone a different route, it would have been substantially more profitable. But that's not why we do it. I mean, it's certainly the love of our pets. And, and for me, I think one of the great turning points in veterinary medicine for me in practice was when I started looking at integrative medicine, I also started really enjoying talking to my clients. I never was in a situation, thank God, where I had to do 15-minute appointments. In fact, our practice, my appointment is an hour minimum for my new rehab and integrative pets. And I love that because there's a lot of conversation with the client and learning what their interests are and learning what they want to do and learning what the pet means to them. I mean, that makes it so worthwhile.
Oh, it is. It so absolutely is. And like we said before, the more we can teach the pets to do, or more we can teach the clients to do to help the pets, the less they have to go see the vets that are, and don't get me wrong, veterinarians are amazing. And
Sure.
when you need a surgery, when you need a drug, that's great. And if you can do things to prevent it, whether it be with diet and exercise, or if they have an injury and the clients can treat them at home so they are saving time, saving money, all of that stuff, saving pain on the animal, that's where you and I come in, right?
Exactly.
Is what can we teach them to save them from having to go to the vet for the things that they only go to the vet for the things they need to.
Right. And, there were times initially with rehab, just like with acupuncture, I only want my dog to have acupuncture. There was no diagnostics, there was no workup, there was no great physical examination. And I, would have to explain to the client that we first need to understand what's going on with your pet. And then we also need to come up with a program that makes sense. Within your time frame, your budget, whatever that happens to be, we can make that happen. But we need to know, and it's not just sticking needles and calling it good. It's not just putting him in the underwater treadmill. That's another thing we would get. Well, I just want my dog in the underwater treadmill. But like Laurie said, I want to teach you exercises. I want to teach you preventative things. I want to keep you from my practice. I sometimes make the joke, and I'm not certified in chiropractic, so I can make this joke, but I tell them, I'm not a chiropractor where I want to see you once a week for the rest of your life. That's not my goal. My goal is to see you and then not to see you. Because as Laurie said, then we've accomplished what we wanted to accomplish with your pet.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
I'm not going to keep you too much longer, but I just want to know, do you have any last thoughts, anything you'd like to share with the listeners?
Can I tell the story of Kaiju?
Oh, please. We have plenty of time. I just didn't want to impose on your time.
Yeah, no. So originally when we talked, you had said, can you think of a case? And Kaiju is an amazing dog. She's a high-level agility competitor, right? So she goes to nationals every year. She's now 9, right? When it was probably 6 years ago, so she was much younger, and she wasn't doing as well as she could. She wasn't optimal when I first met her, and we found some crepitus, so bone-on-bone grinding in her knees, which tells us there's inflammation. And her mom, we did oral supplements. That wasn't enough. We put her on Adequan, which is an injectable. Her mom can do it, right? Again, I teach her how to do it. You do it at home. This is great. This is between you and her. And that wasn't enough. And then mom got a laser, right? And we taught her how to, this was before my pet parent course, so she did the professional course.
Okay.
And we have gotten rid of all of the inflammation.
Wow.
There is no more crepitus. I teach my clients to feel for a fusion because it's the first thing we find, right? Any kind of inflammation in the knees, let's stop and prevent. Cruciate disease is the #1 orthopedic surgery in dogs, right? If we can, my goal is to drop that to less than 10% by doing preventive,
Yes. Yeah.
right? So I teach them how to feel for effusion in the knees, which is water or swelling inflammation in the joint itself, and then get rid of it. Mom's doing the laser. She is now 9. She is just starting to slow down. In 2 weeks, she will be at UKI Nationals because she's still able to compete well enough to get into Nationals with no knee injuries. And
Unbelievable.
mom does the exercises. I mean, her dogs are her kids, right?
Sure.
It's
Sure.
her four-legged kids. And it's not even like just knowing this information is not just for the athletes, but when I graduated vet school, again, 1992, a very long time ago.
I got you beat by a lot, kiddo.
Yeah. A dog would jump in the air to catch a frisbee, come down, and tear a cruciate. A football player would get hit and tear a cruciate. Now a dog's running across the field, he screams, and he picks his leg up because he's torn his cruciate. It's a disease of inflammation. And if we can catch it early, right, we can teach people to find the early signs and prevent it. Hopefully, right now, a cruciate surgery is anywhere from $2,000 to $10,000 per knee. And if the dog tears one, there's a 50% chance in the next 2 years he's going to tear the other one. I don't want the dogs to have to go through that. So I just figured if I put that in there, maybe somebody will think about it. And I do have Learn and Goes on how to feel for crepitus and
Good.
stuff like
Good.
that.
And again, tell us where those Learn and Goes are.
So if you go to my website, OptimumPetVitality.com, on the very top, there's a bar that says Learn and Goes. And you can just scroll through them. Like I said, there's like 100 of them. And they're all different topics. There's some that are a little more toward the professionals and some that are more toward the pet parents. But you just pick what you like. I love to teach. And I hate
It's obvious.
fights. Thank you. So I do have blogs for all of them that you can read, but I'm so much more comfortable being able to teach because I talk with my hands. So I have videos with all except I think one of them that are, and I love to learn. So like I listen to all my podcasts and my ebooks and stuff on 2x speed. So all of these on YouTube, if you're like, wait, I want to hear that again, you can slow it down, or you can listen to it in 2x speed so that you can just keep going through them and going through them and going through them.
Yep. Yeah, and they're incredibly helpful. I mean, just really, really helpful. So thank you for that. I mean, it's wonderful. And both of us love to teach, and it's really, really fun. At my graduation, just so you know, was in 1980. So I'm 43 years into this, and I still love every day. And like my clients constantly coming in saying, "So when are you going to retire?" And I go, "It's not going to happen." I mean, I'll work a little bit less, but I certainly am not going to back off. And like you, speaking about longevity and wellness and going out there and really promoting getting inflammation out of the body, just like you mentioned, is becoming so huge. And for me now, the whole biome study now and all the inflammatory stuff that goes along with that, it's revolutionary. And I tell people that biome has just been made a new organ in the human world. I mean, it's so important. We talk about that in other podcasts and whatnot. So it's all exciting. Laurie, I can't tell you thank you enough. I really appreciate your time. I hope maybe you'll come back sometime. We could talk about some other things. And yes, I know you do. And anybody that wants to send me any questions, write to drrandypetvet.com. Get on my website. There's a phone number there. Anything you'd like, I could definitely forward them to Laurie. We can kind of go back and forth to that, and so that we can avoid some of the problems of communication. But again, Dr. Laurie McCauley, my dear friend, one of my veterinary heroes, what an exciting day. Thank you for being with us and on Pause, Reflect, and Heal with Dr. Randy. We really appreciate you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.